A lot of parents spend a lot of time wondering this, and you might spend your summer wondering this, how to get your kids more motivated. We all just want a child that will get up and get going on their own, right? Well, my next guest claims that if you are waiting around for that child to show up, yeah, you're going to be waiting around forever. Studio 5 parenting contributor Heather Johnson says we should instead be wanting a child that is self-disciplined. So self-motivated versus self-disciplined.
Yep.
We were kind of laughing about this, like, where's my motivated child? You're like, where's her motivated parent?
It's exactly right. I mean, if we really wait around to feel motivated, we won't do most of the things that need done, right? And here's the problem with motivation. Motivation is a feeling.
Right.
Feelings change
Right.
all day long. I'm tired, my motivation changes. I'm hungry, my feelings change. I had a long week, my feelings change. So motivation isn't something that we want our kids to have up front because they won't.
Because we can't ride that up and down those feelings.
It's constantly changing. And so instead we have to understand motivation is a byproduct of acting. Motivation comes after the actions, not before. So if you're waiting for a kid who feels motivated to do their homework and in turn will do it, well, did you ever want to do your homework? We won't ever feel those things, and neither do they. And so it's very unlikely that motivation is going to get them moving. But instead, discipline, their own self-discipline, that gets them moving. Value systems get them moving. Once they do the thing, then the motivation shows up. The feelings show up after the actions, not before. And we get this confused.
Am I hearing you say our feelings aren't in control?
Often, yes.
No, but
Yes.
they're not in charge of us.
Right.
Our
We can't
feelings
let
aren't in
them.
charge of us.
We can't let them be in charge of us,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like waiting for the emails. I can hear them being typed right now, right? I'll take them all. We've got to understand, we're not talking about when you feel compassion for someone or you feel a prompting about someone. That's not what we're talking about when we talk about feelings. We're talking about when we create narratives in our head, thoughts in our heads that lead us then to feel in ways that go contrary to who we say we want to be and what we say and recognize needs done.
Good clarification.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yes. So we are not looking for a self-motivated child. We're looking for a self-disciplined child. Equally challenging, I think, though, to curate discipline in such a little mind.
In their minds. And again, we're going to look at this for little minds and also our minds. Same thing. We need this same capacity.
Yeah.
Again, you know, like you and I were joking, if we only did things today that we felt motivated to do, we wouldn't probably be sitting here. Our mornings wouldn't have gone the way they went.
Yeah.
We did those things out of discipline, out of who we wanted to be. So that's a really good place to start, is by asking those right questions of ourselves, of our children, and teaching our kids. Very small minds can ask right questions. Our minds only answer questions we ask them. So if we can teach our children to ask themselves, who do I want to be? Can you imagine the answers to that question? Who do I want to be? And how cool would it be if your kids asked themselves, how do I want to feel about this? Meaning at the end, how do I want to feel about this? So what happens is, if I want to feel, for example, today, like I accomplished something or I was persistent. If I want to feel that way, now I will change the way I act all day in order to reach those feelings at the end.
Well, maybe I'm not giving them enough credit, but that seems like a little bit of a stretch for a really young child.
Well, if you look at a child and say, how do you want to feel after this? And they say, I want to feel happy. And then you look at them and say, what can you do right now so that you'll feel happy at the end
Bring
of
it
this?
to the moment.
They know just what to do with that.
Okay.
They won't look at you and say, stay in bed. That won't make them feel happy.
Gotcha.
If it's a teenager who's working on homework and they say, well, I want to feel like I worked hard. Well, not doing their homework isn't going to reach that feeling of working hard or that motivation. They can answer those questions all on their own if we have the right questions to ask. Right? We've got to ask those right questions.
And even if that doesn't prompt the teenager to roll out of bed, we're at least asking the questions. We're at least planting those seeds.
It's true. And that's where we have to be really careful to not make how they choose to run their life about us. We have to always be working as a parent to be in a place where we're comfortable with what we're offering. We know that we're managing our emotions and the way we're handling them so that it's not impacted by how they choose to use their own agency. Because you can do it just right, and your kids still get to choose. They still have their own insecurities and inabilities that they're always navigating.
In order to teach and promote discipline, you want us to watch our words.
Watch what we say. How often do we find ourselves saying things like, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like I want to do that. Or I didn't feel like doing it. Or I don't feel like it. When they say, Mom, can we go do this? Or Mom, what about this? And we say, I don't feel like it. And now all we're teaching them is that if you don't feel like it, you don't have to. Well, that's the exact opposite. If we're looking for them to do homework or be engaged with their siblings or join us for a family experience. And they're constantly hearing us say, well, if I don't feel like it, I don't have to do it.
This is a big catch.
Then they hear, well, I don't feel like it. Why do I have to go do it?
That's
right?
an easy trap, though. This is a good heads up.
A really easy trap to fall into, because guess what? We don't often feel like
I don't feel like it, yeah.
But we have to take a step back and go, regardless of how I feel, who do I want to be right here as a parent? And more importantly, how do I want to feel at the end of this experience? So what do I need to do now so that I can achieve those feelings? Remember, feelings are a byproduct of those actions. And so we have to act to get the feelings that we want.
All right.
So we have to be really careful and watch those words. We also want to make sure that we're encouraging them to do really challenging things. And this is something we step away from as parents, right? We don't want to push them into those uncomfortable things. You know, we just did this. Our 13-year-old has been through a number of physical accidents in the sports and the activities she loves. And so she's had to give a lot of them up. And so recently she decided to try voice. She loves to sing.
Okay.
And it doesn't use her ankles or her knees or her wrists. And so it's
green
safe.
light, green
It's
light.
safe, right? And so they had their first vocal performance, and she was not motivated to try out or motivated to sing in front of 150 strangers,
Can't
a
blame her.
solo.
Yeah.
Me neither. In fact, as I watched her, I thought, I don't think I could come up with the courage to do this. And as we encouraged her to do it, she got up there not because she felt like it. She got up there because she decided she wanted to be someone who tackled something challenging.
Look at her.
And she rocked it.
Yeah.
And as she sat down and the smile spread across her face, the performance wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
But she sat down and all those feelings she wanted to feel, that motivation she wanted to get to the next vocal performance, it was there.
The rush.
Because there was that encouragement to try something hard.
All right.
It's the same thing we do with their emotions. We're so quick to save them from uncomfortable emotions. They can develop self-discipline when we do this. Uncomfortable emotions we tend to try and save them from the most are boredom and embarrassment. We're very quick when they're bored. Summer is a perfect example of this, to say, oh, you're bored, let me rescue you from that.
Yeah.
Instead of teaching them what to do when they feel bored. This idea of being embarrassed, we've all felt embarrassed as adults, probably in the last 2 days. We've had something where we go, oh,
last 2 hours.
That's on.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing,
Yeah.
right? This is something they're going to feel their whole lives.
Yeah.
And so instead of saving them from uncomfortable emotions, they won't develop discipline unless we teach them what to do.
What does that look like really quickly?
Because those emotions, they keep them from having discipline, right?
Okay.
We need them to have discipline through embarrassment.
Through the tough stuff.
Through the boredom, right?
Yeah.
So we teach them, well, what do you do when you're bored? How can we manage not knowing what to do with our time? How can we be embarrassed and then figure out what we do? What do we do? I mean, what do you do when you're embarrassed? And explaining to them, I feel embarrassed. Here's what I do in my head with my body when I feel those
So
things.
it's the talking through, it's the teaching.
It is. It's teaching them. And a way we can do this too is to teach them how to solve their own problems. And that's really what managing these emotions are, is teaching them that they can creatively solve their own problems.
Yeah.
So when something gets difficult or when their feelings want to govern their actions, they can take a step back and go, you know what, I'm not going to do that. And we have to do that by example. We're very quick sometimes to say to our kids, never mind, then we won't do that. Fine, forget it. And we become dismissive instead of looking at them and saying, all right, let's you and I talk about this a little more. Or what do you think we could do about this situation?
Yeah.
Teaching them to be creative in their problem solving will help them go so much further with their self-discipline.
This is a thinker. Heather, thank you so much. You can visit our website to connect with Heather on teaching your child self-discipline and seek her contact information there too.